And now Linda Lucas is going to speak with us about
Yeah,
spirituality and consciousness.
thanks, Jen. So those of you that were with us last month, Jennifer presented on the 4 icebergs. So I assume that some of you weren't there. So I thought I would just do a review, and then I'm going to move into the 5th iceberg. So we have a PowerPoint, and it's really sort of interesting how much time we put into, preparing, because we get excited about like sharing. And as we're sharing and I'm learning and growing, and Jennifer is learning and growing. So it really helps us anchoring, what we're going to be presenting to you. Okay. So first of all, this is a little bit busy, so let me just, as we sort of like hopefully gently move into maybe a little bit of the left side of your brain after that beautiful meditation, spirituality and consciousness and the connection to congruency. And if I were to retitle that, what I would change would be spirituality and congruency and the connection to consciousness. It should be the other way around. I would choose to do it differently next time. So consciousness, I'm aware of being aware. And the reason we wanted to present this is there is a 5th iceberg, and the 5th iceberg is sort of what I think we strive for and what we all are. And so then I look at like, how does this apply? How can we all apply this to our lives? And how can we, I don't want to say use, but in a way, let it be helpful to us in the work that we're doing, in the relationships that we're with others, and the relationship, of course, that are in with ourselves. So consciousness, and there's a sort of like a gazillion different definitions of consciousness, and nobody can really agree on it. Some people, some scientists and like spiritual people are saying, we'll never really have a really good definition of consciousness. But I'm aware of being aware, and I think John Bandman and I had discussed. So I talked with him. We had a discussion about this, and it's sort of the state of being awake and aware of one's surroundings. I'm aware and noticing and being conscious. So it's not enough to just be aware. I'm aware that it's raining out, but it doesn't mean that I'm fully aware, but I'm aware that I'm aware, and I'm noticing and I'm conscious of it. And there's this pervasive energy of the universe. And then congruence is a manifestation of consciousness. So we have been working, I think, as therapists, we work to be congruent in our sessions with our clients. And many of us are working to be congruent, and more than just in our sessions, our therapy sessions or counseling sessions. It is a manifestation of consciousness. So then my question, how awake and how aware are you in this moment? And my guess would be many of you are very awake and very aware, and also you're aware that you're aware, given that we just all went inside ourselves, and maybe even manifesting our true selves, thanks to Robin's meditation and Jennifer's reading. So all these, the reading and the meditation are leading you to this place of consciousness. And then I wanted to so we're all on the same page and everybody can have a different opinion or a, different experience of what spirituality is. But John Bandman talked about spirituality as a sacred state of union with the universe. So if you look at consciousness and spirituality, they're pretty connected. So it envisions an inner path, enabling a person to discover the essence of her being. It is the practice of consciousness. And so again, spirituality, is a manifestation of consciousness. So congruence and spirituality are a manifestation of consciousness. So it would make sense that consciousness is the 5th iceberg. And then Virginia Satir said, she has faith in the human spirit. She was one of the early ones that talked about the human spirit. There is spirit. It wasn't used loosely. It was used, really very concretely that there is a human spirit and the intrinsic human potential for healing. And those are linked. The spirit, the soul, consciousness is a healing energy. And we connect with the that energy when we are in our congruence, and yet there's even a step beyond congruence. So, Banman offered a definition of congruence. In any relationship, the ability to fully honor oneself, the other person, and the context of the relationship. And she used that sequence. It's the relationship, self, other, and relationship. And I'm going to show you something later on that sort of makes you like look at that and sort of like where she maybe got that from, or where that came to her. And then number two, to live in an internal harmony within oneself, which includes accepting and loving oneself. So that is the spiritual, the moving towards consciousness. And then three, having harmony between the conscious and unconscious parts of oneself. So I'm conscious of different aspects of myself, but I'm also unconscious to different parts of myself. And that can be unfinished business. It can be, like my blind spots. And that, we often will hopefully discover some of our blind spots as we're going along in our lives, whether somebody activates some resource within me or they activate a piece of unfinished business. So it can become conscious. So the three, that's his definition. And when I read this to him last night, because it came from a class in 2011, he was funny. He said, I said that. That's pretty good. I was like, yeah, it is pretty good. Okay. And also, then he went on to say to achieve congruence, the therapist needs to resolve unfinished psychological business from her family of origin, resolve conflicts between feelings, action, beliefs, expectations, and yearnings within, and learn to accept, appreciate, and love herself. So, again, coming back to that spirituality, coming back to moving towards consciousness and congruence. The therapist who has done this work and now easily connects to her deepest self and lives harmoniously within can then bring that congruence to the family session, opening the potential for healing. So again, I wanted to just add this because the healing comes from that congruent energy. It comes from the state of consciousness. It's a state of being. And then Jennifer last month talked about the four icebergs. So the first iceberg, and Jennifer, my PowerPoint it sort of messed up some of the words a little bit. So the first iceberg is like what some people when they come in, they're suffering. The pain is enmeshed, and it's physical pain, identity, emotional pain, mental pain, hopelessness, helplessness, spiritual pain. So there's a level of suffering that we probably all go through throughout our lives. It's like sort of like we have these roller coasters where we may be suffering, and then we connect at a deeper level. And then we could go into survival, because survival patterns of coping allows us to protect ourselves. And again, people often come into suffering or survival, and that's very much on the physical and the mental and the emotional plane. Okay, and then the iceberg three is where we're moving people more into being in charge of themselves, in charge of their feelings, their behaviors, their perceptions, more in charge of themselves internally, which then is in charge of like what people see on the outside. And then iceberg four is where we are really in the unified field, the quantum field, you could say. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the quantum field, but it's where you're creating your own reality. It's a place of infinite possibilities, and even within limitations. There's a sense of love and connection and belonging that our yearnings, and there's this, and we're manifesting our true selves. So I am life energy, and we could say that this heart is like moving up through the whole iceberg and around. So I am life energy, and it is creating your own reality, and that is where, when your intuition is online. It's really you're online. And so when you're in the quantum field or the unified field, all information is available to you. So it's sort of like having access to the internet and you're Googling something, but all you have to do is like it just comes to you. So there's this sort of sense of like knowing that happens. And when you're in this place and you're manifesting your true self, the I am, it's like there is this sort of like knowing that happens, which is very a very different place than like the perceptions. Perceptions are up in like the belief. I believe something, I think something, which is really, fairly cognitive, fairly left brain. When we are in the fourth iceberg and in the quantum field, we're more in probably in the right brain and it's way more balanced left right. So there is a sense of knowing that happens. Like I don't even know how I know, but it's like and that is coming from the field. So um, in the quantum field. And this is where most people we're moving more to this place of creating your reality where there is the congruence. So remember, congruence is a manifestation of consciousness. So there is and really we want to be in this place more. And then Jennifer also shared with us ways to move into that iceberg 4 of creating your own reality, and that is creating your own reality in collaboration with the unified field. And that is to experience gratitude. So intentionally experience gratitude. It's not something that just happens to you. It's like I am making a choice to experience gratitude, to share my gratitude with myself, with others, and with the context. And also ways to move is to experience love. It's not just to say the word I love, it's to be loving. I'm loving, looking out and seeing the leaves, and it's unconditional and universal. So it's that sort of, you could say, deeper level of love that we intentionally choose to experience. And also I experience compassion. So I'm intentionally choosing compassion, and I experience it in my whole body when I'm experiencing compassion and I'm experiencing love and I'm experiencing gratitude. So there is that energy of it. And in that energy of the gratitude, love, and compassion, it allows me then to be in the quantum field or the unified field where all information is available to me. Answers come to me, ideas come to me because it's really infinitely creative, infinitely infinite. So then we move into this. This is the screen that I I created this because it was sort of in my mind. So again, if that creative place is that, the fifth iceberg is cosmic consciousness. And the cosmic consciousness is I am cosmic consciousness. I am divine. And Satir used the word divine throughout her work, especially towards like the latter half of her practicing. She used the word divine. So she was, it seems as if she was so in touch with, like, she knew that it was about cosmic consciousness. She knew that she was divine. And she would say often it's like a cosmic joke because the cosmos is humorous and playful and creative. And again, it's like there are those infinite possibilities. There is love, connection, belonging, but there is also this sense of like moving beyond just being congruent. So yeah, I have like the universe down at the bottom, the universe at the top. I couldn't make the whole thing be surrounded by the universe, but I am cosmic consciousness. I am not in a way, I'm not, I can experience cosmic consciousness. And that is the oneness experience of that I am in the world, but I'm not of it. So I am aware that I'm aware. I am not just the story. I am not just this drama that's happening to me, Linda. I am, here's a picture of like the oneness, the consciousness, the divine oneness of my experience on experiences of being divine and being divine oneness. That it's like I am a spark We are all sparks of cosmic consciousness. So you can pick one of these little stars in that you see, and it's like you are one of them, and every one of us are necessary. And it's like we're so more than this human body that we are, and this human life that we're living. We are far, far greater than just the living being that we are. We're a spiritual being in this human being body. So, ways to move into Iceberg 5, meditation and stillness. So, I mean, that's really key, is moving into that Iceberg 5. And when Robin was doing her meditation, she was just saying, just notice your thoughts and say, I am thinking, I am, just noticing it's like that I am. And the sort of the hope is that you can move to this place of stillness where your monkey mind isn't running around and dancing and playing tricks on you. um, the meditation allows for a stillness to take place. And those of you that have seen Satir work, whether through a video or in person, is that you know that she did meditation. She offered meditations in the morning, at lunch, in the afternoon. She was all about connecting a person to themselves, but also she was about helping people find more stillness within themselves. And then ways that have been around for centuries and centuries is dancing and dancing to music. So music can also help us move into this Iceberg 5, where there's a sense of stillness inside of our minds, inside of like the sort of the day-to-day earth school drama that we all are living. And drumming, entering the drumming, it's like as you're drumming, you enter into that experience, and sort of like you leave the sort of the left brain, and just become. There's this sort of being, cosmic consciousness. And another way that they're finding, I mean, it's also like decades old and century old, is psychedelic drugs, but there's lots of work being done in the area of psychedelic drugs now to help people what is it called, transition into a state of consciousness, transcend. People are transcending. And I know the work that I do, the work that I'm doing, and it's ongoing, is the transcending the sort of the left brain, the drama that, be in the world but not of the world, is that I still stay connected very much to my human body, because we have these human bodies for a reason. And each cell of our body is like a hologram of all of us. So to really stay connected to the body, to be appreciative to the body, to be grateful to the body, listening to the body, because remember, every cell has wisdom and it's guiding you. And then this is what Buber said, and this is like in one of the journal articles Steve Bentheim wrote about spirituality with couples. So Buber said, of the divine on earth is fulfilled not within humans, but between humans. It is consummated only in the life of true community. So here Buber makes an imperative that all three aspects of relatedness, the self, the other, and the context, his community or culture, need be in a sacred dialogical relation. So this is where I think Satir was really on to the self-other context. It's not fulfilled, divine on earth is not fulfilled within humans, but between humans. So that peace within, peace between, peace among, I think comes directly from this quote, these words of Buber from 1967. And it's sacred. So, the word sacred is that we are sacred and we are divine, and our relationships are divine and the context is divine. So we thought we'd have you go into breakouts. So that's sort of a short recap, and also the adding in of consciousness. I'll get out of this for a minute. How does love fit into the Satir model? And how do you manifest love during therapy sessions, or during your work, or during your relationships? And how do you use your intuition and wisdom to surface the real issue needing transformation? So how do you, and you could also just do, how do you use your intuition and wisdom in your life? When, where, how? How does love fit into the Satir model? And how do you manifest love during your work or during your relationships? And you can screenshot that, you can write them down, and then we'll have you go into trios and share, these questions. And of course, we're never rigid. You have many choices you can make. You can address these questions. You can share what happened for you during the meditation, the reading, what you're hearing about spirituality and congruence and consciousness. You can decide with your trios which you want to discuss with one another.